Hi, and welcome to Retirement with Jim. So, today, don't make these mistakes in your retirement. So, before we get started, if you like my channel, consider subscribing, helps my channel grow. Along with that, hit the like button and leave comments. Love to hear from you. Love to know if you like it, don't like it, agree, disagree, other topics you want to talk about. Let me know. So, let's get started. So, don't make these mistakes, these choices, you know, in retirement. So, first off on the list is don't overspend. Now, if you are in your early part of retirement, you want to spend because you want to travel. Well, and make sure you have worked that into your budget, and you've given that some real thought about what it's going to cost you, and and be realistic. Have a realistic budget, and realistically, almost a separate travel budget. Think about if you are driving, the gas, cost of gas, things of that, hotels, airline fees, what are you doing, where you're traveling to, so things to think about. Um, and the next on the list is make sure you have an emergency budget. An emergency fund, so and make sure it's budgeted, and got enough money in it, because things are always going to break. Things in your house, your car. I had to have my car fixed not that long ago. It cost me $800. It's just, that's the way it goes. I had some plumbing work done that, and with the plumbing work, and it was a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And so you have to be prepared for those things, because you don't want to be taking that out of your retirement fund per se. So you want to have a well-stocked, shall we say, emergency fund that can take care of all the things that you need to. Got to drink a little water here. It's in Phoenix today. Right now it's currently about 108. So it's a little bit warm. I'm trying to find a shady spot. Going to be a little weather update. It's going to be a high of about 115 today. So got to stay hydrated and find a shady place to be. So don't rely on Social Security alone. I guess if you have no choice, then it kind of is what it is. But make sure you prepare for it, so that you are got other sources of income, and whether it's your 401k, an IRA, investments, or even if you're working a part-time gig and you're going to do that to offset. But don't rely completely on Social Security. Not that it's impossible, but it's a tougher thing to do. Don't underestimate the your healthcare costs. Have long-term insurance, because the cost of healthcare has absolutely just skyrocketed, and it is the medical costs are so high. They are the leading cause of bankruptcy here in America. I think I did a short on that where it's 66.5% of people end up going bankrupt because of healthcare issues. So really make sure you do your research. Choose your plans wisely. Whether it's the Advantage plan or the traditional, and you have, like myself, I have the traditional, but I have the G plan. I don't want to pay the large cost involved. Once I hit my my deductible limit for the G plan, I'm good for the year, the whole rest of the year. So I'm much more comfortable, and I feel confident with that I am not going to suffer long-term financial problems. And you got to be thinking about that, because you got to be thinking about what your history is, and what you are possibly going to face, How healthy are you right now? You got to keep all of these things in mind. So it comes down to good planning. Along with that, don't overestimate your savings, how long it's going to last. You need to review it periodically, to stay on course. So be, again, realistic. Look at what you've got. Look at the budget. Can you have money in the 401k? Is it a troubling year like it is right now? Are you able to, hold off on taking any money out of there? If you have to take money out and you don't necessarily need it, reinvest it. To take a look at reinvesting. So my wife and I did. We took some money and we went into the stock market and started playing with some more additional stocks to buy. So it's just a food for thought. There are other options out there. And the last two that are important to keep in mind are, number one, taxes. Taxes, you've got to, for instance, your real estate taxes. If you were paying a mortgage, it was probably worked into your mortgage payment. And so you didn't have to really think about it. Your taxes are taken care of and sent. But if your house is paid for, now you have to pay that every year. And you don't want to fall behind. You don't want to forget, and you want to set aside the proper amount of money so that you can pay those taxes. And that's just the real estate taxes. You've got your income tax. You are you going to be paying taxes to Uncle Sam? Probably going to. It's so hard for all of us to get away from that. When you're in retirement. Hopefully, you've got a good tax guy, accountant who can help you minimize that and find ways to write off as much as you can. Take advantage. A good tax person is worth their weight in gold because they can help you write stuff off, all legally. You want to stay out of the eye shot of Uncle Sam, but there are plenty of things you're entitled to, and my God, take them. Take what you're entitled to because that's your God-given right. And the last thing is inflation. Now, the funny thing is, I always kind of thought about inflation, but it was always a thought in the back of my mind. I didn't think a lot about it. But now that I've retired, I see that it takes a huge hit on my food budget. I struggle. My wife and I struggle to stay within the food budget. We are always, trying to, keep the cost down, but the cost of, inflation on the cost of goods has just really gone up, and it's really evident in your food. Whether you're eating out or at the grocery store, trying to stay, well in the grocery store, and eat healthier and keep your cost down a bit. But the cost of everything has just been going, through the roof. So inflation really can do a number when you're retired because you're on a fixed income. So you got to be thinking about inflation because it will take a bigger bite. We don't drive as much, so we were able to shift money that we kind of budgeted for gas more into food. But you can only play with those numbers so much, where reality is this is what you need. But got to be thinking about it. So let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. How are you dealing with those things? And I will tell you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.